Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's take a moment to become present, finding a nice, comfortable seated position on a pillow or block, blanket. Oh, the sun's really wanting to come out now. Just something that will allow your spine and the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Gently close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. And soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is the sixth of the 8 limbs of yoga. Sixth limb is Dharana, and it means focused mind or concentration. You remember the first 4 limbs of yoga. Our focus is on our external world, the guidelines for living, the asanas, those poses that we do that enable us to have more mobility, and our breath. The 5th limb of yoga, pratyahara, is the bridge between the external world and the internal world. And the 6th limb, what we'll be talking about today, dharana, starts the journey inward by having us develop a focused mind. There are a number of techniques for developing a focused mind. Here's 3. First one being Anapanasati. And Anapanasati is to meditation as pranayamas are to the asanas, to the poses. So we do a lot of pranayama breathing techniques when we do our poses. And Anapanasati is a breathing technique that is for meditation. It uses the breath to concentrate the mind and uses the breath to develop insight. Your breathing would be focused on the raw sensations of the body. So when you inhale, you're feeling that breath go through your nostrils, maybe wiggling nostril hairs, and you're feeling your chest expand, really focusing on the raw sensations of that body, of your body. But you let the breath happen, just happen, rather than make the breath happen, which is what we often do in the pranayamas. It's a conscious breathing. So that's one. Another one is Trataka. And Trataka means to look or to gaze in Sanskrit. It's an ancient form of focus used in Ayurvedic medicine, and it involves focusing the eye on a single object. So you can either focus with your eyes open or with your eyes closed. That third eye, you'll be able to see that inner eye, be able to see that object. So right now I'd like to do a quick exercise of Trataka using a picture of a candle. And we're going to focus on the candle flame and then close your eyes and gently concentrate on that image without any tension. Because if you try to exert effort to look at that when your eyes are closed, you actually might not even be able to conjure up that image. It's going to be, well, it might fade, or it might be there or then fade and disappear if you focus too much. So just be very gentle and at ease when you do that. So let's do that. I'm going to put the picture up and we'll look at that, and then I'm going to have you at your time pace close your eyes and bring that image to your mind's eye, that third eye, that inner eye. So let me bring that up. So focus on that for a little bit. And the idea when you're focusing on an object is, and we'll get to this when we talk about Drishtis, is not to glare at it, not to really exert force when you're looking at something, just kind of gently with your eyes softened, look at it. And then at your leisure, close your eyes and try to bring that image to your inner eye. Alrighty, and you may open your eyes now, and I'm going to end that. And so the last one is Drishti. This is a word that if you take yoga classes regularly, you'll hear a lot. And Drishtis can be used during meditation or during your asana practice. It's holding a fixed fixed gaze, and we draw energy, the energy of the mind to a single point. And it's all about steadying the mind, the activity of the mind. So we'll get into that when I go to the mat and we start our asana practice. But just for a few minutes, I want you to continue what we just did, and you can choose either the Anapanasati or the Trataka method of meditation. So the Anapanasati is focusing on the raw sensations of your breath within your body. And the Trataka is, you can close your eyes and try to bring that image of a candle back and focusing on that. We'll just do that for a few moments. we'll start our asana practice. So as I was mentioning with the Drishti, we hear that term a lot during our yoga practice, our asana practice. And it can be said that each asana or each pose is assigned a Drishti, so that when you are doing the pose, it helps your body to find the posture and the alignment that it needs for that pose. So focusing on one of these particular Drishtis will influence you to do that pose correctly or the best of your ability. And it also influences the energetic body so that you channel your energy in such a way because you're focused on a certain point. And so there are 9 Drishti points. Some people say 8 because they combine 2, but for the most part, 8 or 9. So first one being looking upward or outward. So you're looking, and if you do that while you're sitting in your basic seated pose, centering your head to look outward, your spine automatically kind of straightens up, the back of your neck automatically straightens up. So again, it's that posture and alignment that the Drishtis help you achieve. The next one is looking left. And the third one, or if you want to combine the 2, is looking right. And then the next one is the inner eye or the third eye. The next one is the tip of the nose. That one doesn't get, those 2 I don't think get used that often. If you think of, when they say third eye, I think of it more as the inner eye, like what we were just doing with the Trataka and the candle. Just because sometimes when you're given a cue for a pose, you can't see one of the Drishti points, so you kind of have to envision it in your mind's eye. It's how are my feet positioned right now, even though you can't see your feet at the moment. So that's my interpretation. And then tip of the nose, we'll do one that I can think of that uses the tip of the nose. And then the next one is fingertips, and then thumbs, particularly the thumbs. So when you're in Anjali Mudra, you can see your fingertips, and when you start to send that Anjali Mudra up, all that's visible is your thumbs. And then the navel, and then your feet and toes. So those are the 9 Drishti points. And remember, the goal of is not to stare at these particular Drishti points. The goal is to steady the activity of the mind. So by focusing on these Drishti points in a soft way, not glaring at them, you're steadying the activity of your mind. So let's start. So in our basic seated pose, again, we're going to do the Drishti point of staring out and not necessarily upward, because that I like to have the back of the neck and the spine be a nice long line. So we're going to stare straight out. Just see how that feels in your body, how your body aligns and the posture of your body. Then we'll do a few sun breaths. So bring your fingertips to the mat. Inhale slowly. Again, bringing back what James Nestor said in the book Breath. It's about 5.5 seconds for an inhale. And that's pretty long. One inhale, 5.5 seconds. And then exhale, bringing our hands back down. And our Drishti is just looking outward. Inhale, bringing our hands up slowly. Nice big inhale. And exhale, bringing your hands back down. and going at your own pace if you like. Remembering that 5.5 seconds. And one last one. Inhaling and exhaling. Then we'll bring our right hand to our left kneecap, bringing our left fingertips behind our hips, turning to the left, and just sending our gaze out straight ahead. Nice couple deep breaths here. And then come back to center. We'll do that on the other side. Left hand to right knee, right fingertips. Here's that word fingertips, that Drishti is right behind your hips. Sending your gaze to the right. And then we'll come back to center. We're gonna come up on our tabletop. We send our hands, wrists right below our shoulders. We'll be looking at our fingertips and our thumbs. So if you kind of send your gaze out and around, your mind loses that steady focus. So looking at your fingertips, you're kind of, again, not glaring, just looking, just gentle look with your eyes. Knees are right below your hips, navel's tucked to your spine. We're going to gently, on the inhales and exhales, turn our head to the right. And you can find your own breathing pattern with this, and then bring your head back to center, and then turn your head to the left. So whether you're doing the one big inhale, and then one big exhale, or inhaling when you go to the side and exhaling back to center, that's up to you. And then come back to center. We'll do a few cat-cows. So exhaling, rounding our back, sending our gaze down to our navel. And if that's uncomfortable, you can kind of look between your legs and send it down to your feet. But if you get to the point where you're looking at your navel, you have that really rounding of the spine. That stretch, that might feel good. And then inhaling, lifting your head up, sending your gaze outward. That kind of automatically sends your tummy down and creating that little arch in your back. Hips go up. So by sending your gaze straight out, it achieves that with not much effort. And then rounding our back again on the exhale. And then inhale, coming back up, sending our gaze straight out. And then continue this at your own pace for a few more breaths. And then we'll come back to tabletop. We're going to send our right foot down to the bottom of the mat. We're keeping our gaze on our fingertips. So the right foot's down at the bottom of the mat, and then we're going to bring that right foot over to the left side and kind of touch down outside of the mat. So it's on the floor or carpet. And then we're going to turn our head to the left and then send our gaze back to our foot. And then return your head back to center and return your knee back to tabletop. We'll do that on the other side. So extend your left leg down to the bottom of the mat. Our focus is on our fingertips. Send the left foot outside of the mat, over to the right. And then turn your head to the right and then send your gaze back to your toes and your feet. And then return your head back to center. Bring your knee back to tabletop. And we'll do bird dog. So we'll bring our knees together underneath our hips. And our hands are down on the mat, pushing gently down into our fingertips to create that space between our shoulders and our ears. We'll lift our right leg up to hip height. Lift our left arm up to shoulder height, and so it runs alongside of your ear. And then we're going to inhale, pointing our toe, exhale, flexing our foot. Inhale, point, exhale, flex. 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 And you can bring that hand and knee back down. We'll do that on the other side. Keeping our soft gaze on our hands, lifting our left leg up, even weight distributed or weight evenly distributed in our hands, and then lift our right arm up, pointing our left toes on the inhale, flex on the exhale, point on inhale, flex, exhale, point, inhale, flex, exhale, point, inhale, flex, exhale, point, inhale, flex, exhale, point, inhale, and flex, exhale, and bring everything back down. And we'll walk our hands back as we tuck our toes under and come into a squat. And then pushing down into our toes, coming up to mountain pose. So mountain pose, we're often looking down at our feet. We're trying to get our toes in line with the edge of the mat. Our legs are nice and straight and strong. Navel's tucked to the spine. Shoulders are rolled back, sending our gaze straight out. We have nice elements of our posture right here. And we're aligned in mountain pose and really feeling grounded. We're going to lift our toes up and spread them apart and just bring them down, lifting our heels up and then bring them down and really feeling that connection to our mat, to the earth. So we're going to sweep our hands up, sending our gaze out. You can look up to your fingertips or just keep your gaze out. And then we're going to bring our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, coming into forward fold. And our Drishti here would be our fingers or our feet. We'll just check in here for a moment, as we usually do. And then inhale, bringing our hands to our shins. Now you're typically going to look at your hands, but you can look at your hands or send your gaze straight down so the back of your neck is nice and straight and long. And then send the crown of your head down toward the ground. And if I could lobby, I guess I'd have to go back 5,000 years to lobby this, but if I could lobby to have a Drishti point be your kneecaps, because there's often a lot of poses where we're looking at our knees. So that's one I would add. And then we'll sweep our hands all the way up overhead, coming up onto our tippy toes as we raise our hands up over our head. And this is balancing, so this is often when the Dristis are employed to help you steady your mind. And I encourage you at this moment, while you're up on your tippy toes and your arms are up, start looking around your room with your eyes. Instead of focusing on one point, just kind of let your eyes roll around the room and see how that affects your stability in this pose. Kind of throws me off. So then again, you can focus on your Drishti, your point. I have a window right across from me, so I'm always looking at the frame of the window. And then bringing our hands down slowly as we lower slowly our heels. And then we'll do a few more of these. So sweeping our hands up on the inhale, slowly coming up onto your tippy toes. And then slowly lowering down. Your heels reach the mat, your hands come down. And one more, so slowly with control, inhale up. Again, you can try that out again, moving your eyes all around your room as opposed to being focused, and really see how that Drishti does help. Steadies the mind, and the mind steadies the body. And then we'll bring our hands all the way back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, lifting our hands up to our shins, flattening out our back, flattening out the back of our neck. Then slowly lowering our crown of our head to the mat, toward the mat, not to the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead again. Hands come up overhead, and then they come down in front of us at shoulder height. We're going to do our 180s. So with our hands out in front of us, we're going to lock our gaze, our soft gaze, on our right fingertips. And then we're going to bring those right fingertips all the way around back in a 180 degrees semicircle as we bring our left fingertips to our right shoulder. So our gaze stays on our right fingertips. So now they're in back, and then we'll bring that back around and have them both out, extended out in front, and we'll do that on the left side. So keeping our gaze on our left fingertips, bringing our right hand to our left shoulder, and then back again. Keeping our gaze on our left fingertips. And now switching over to the right fingertips, we'll do that side one more time. And then back to center. And the left hand. And back to center. Lift our hands up overhead and then bring them down on exhale, bringing them all the way to the mat. Inhale, lift up, half forward fold, and then exhale, sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And just let gravity take over for a second here. And then inhale, sweeping our hands all the way up overhead, palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And we're going to lift just the right leg up, just kind of bringing it up into like a 90-degree angle. And again, this helps when you are looking at a steady object in front of you, straight out ahead. You find your stability here. And then we're going to send this right foot all the way in back of us. And you can land it either on the ball of your foot for high lunge, or you can pivot and have your heel reach the mat for a warrior one lunge. And then we'll bring that back. Do that with the other leg, the left leg, lifting it up. And use your Drishti to steady the mind. Mind steadies the body. Excuse me. And then send that foot back as far back as comfortable, either on the landing on the ball of the foot or pivoting your heel down to the mat. And then bring that back. Sweep our hands all the way up overhead. And then exhale, bring your hands down to the mat, sending our gaze to our toes. Inhale, lifting up for half forward fold. We're sending our gaze straight down to the mat, not necessarily to our toes. Try to keep that nice straight spine and back of our neck. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up. Again, palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And palms come to the back of our hips. So our fingertips are facing down toward the mat. And since we can't see them, we use our inner eye, our third eye, to kind of visualize that, feel that. And then we're going to come into a supported back bend. So gently relax your shoulders, rolling them back. Your chin comes toward your chest. And this is the one where you can actually, if you want to, try to look at the tip of your nose as you tip your shoulders backwards. Just keeping that chin toward your chest. Maybe setting that gaze to the tip of your nose. Helps you keep that chin tucked in. And lean back only as far as where your breath can still flow evenly. And then come back up to mountain pose. Well done, everyone. And you're welcome to experiment when we're doing these poses to try different Drishti points in the 9. There's a lot of options there, and just see how it affects the alignment and the posture of the pose. So we're going to sweep our hands up, inhaling, and then exhale, bring our hands down to the mat, fingertips that reach down in the mat, and send our right foot to the back of the mat. We'll place our right hand on the mat, and then sweep our left fingertips up to the sky, and we're going to follow our left fingertips with our eyes as we reach up to the sky. And then send the left fingertips back down to the mat. We'll send the left foot back, coming into plank pose. Again, we're looking at our fingers. Heels are being pushed to the back of the mat, navel's tucked to the spine. And we'll come down, chaturanga or knees, chest, chin, keeping our elbows tucked to the side. With our fingertips under our shoulders, we'll lift our nose, tip of our nose and our chest up And lift our hands off the mat for baby cobra. And then bring our hands back down to the mat and gently continue pushing, coming into cobra. Sending our gaze straight out. And then lifting up to tabletop and coming down to child's pose, sending our hips to our heels. Third eye goes to the mat. Arms can be extended out front or alongside of you, whichever is comfortable. And we'll inhale, coming up to tabletop. Tuck our toes under, lift up our hips into downward dog. So here's an interesting thing, because there's many Drishti points to choose from. You can look at your hands, you can look at your feet, but as I mentioned, each asana, each pose is theoretically assigned a Drishti, and this one is the navel. So we're gonna straighten our arms, bring our chest toward our thighs. So we'll look at our navel, which sends our hips up higher. But if that's uncomfortable, your feet work just as well. And then we'll walk our feet slowly up to our hands, coming into a forward fold. And sweep our hands all the way up overhead. Big inhale, palms come together, palms come to heart center. And we'll come into tree pose. So this is the classic when you're talking about Drishtis, is when you're trying to do tree pose, you kind of need to find that steady point straight outward from you. And you can do your favorite tree pose position, toe on the mat, heel on your ankle, or sole of your foot on your inner calf, or sole of your foot up on your thigh. And if you want to experiment, take your eye off your Drishti and move them all around, see how that affects your balance. So again, the Drishti's point, the intent of it is to steady your mind, and your mind steadies your body. Okay, and then we're gonna keep our leg lifted, bring it back so that it's in front of us. And then we're gonna reach it back and come into warrior two. So our back foot's gonna come land in a pivot way, so it's kind of in a 45-degree angle. We come into our lunge position, knees right over the ankle, just being able to see our big toes. We're gonna turn our torso, our chest toward the long end of the mat, and sweep our arms up at shoulder height. And then with warrior two, the Drishti ends up being the fingertips. So we'll turn our head gently to the left, look at our left fingertips. And you feel the strength of this pose. And then we'll do a reverse warrior dance. So we're going to lift our left fingertips up as we drop our right fingertips down, keeping our eyes on the left fingertips and straightening out our front leg as we lift our fingers up to the sky. And then lowering our fingertips, keeping our eyes on that. We'll come back to the lunge position, come back to warrior two position. And we'll do that a few more times. So again, lifting our left fingertips up, Dropping our right fingertips down, straightening out our left knee, keeping our eyes focused on our fingers the whole time. And then bringing them back down, returning to the lunge position, returning to warrior two. And one last time. Coming up, straightening the leg. And then returning back to the lunge and back to warrior two. I'm going to bring the left arm down to the left thigh, sending our right fingertips up to the sky and sending our gaze up to the right fingertips. And then bringing our right fingertips all the way down to the mat, pivoting the back foot, coming into runner's lunge. And then focusing on our foot, our toes on the left foot, we're going to really press down and lift our right leg up, bring the right foot to join the left foot. Coming into a forward fold, and then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, and palms come down to heart center. And we'll do that on the other side. So again, inhale deeply, sweeping our hands all the way up. You can bring your gaze up to your thumbs if you want. Create a nice stretch. And then exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat. Sending our gaze down to our fingertips and our feet. We're going to send our left foot back to the back of the mat, coming into runner's lunge. Our left hand goes down onto the mat. We're going to sweep our right hand up to the sky, following our fingertips as we go. Really opening up our chest. And then bringing our right fingertips back down to the mat. And then sending our right foot back, coming into plank pose. Navel's tucked to the spine. Elbows tucked toward the ribs, coming down, chaturanga. And then keeping our fingertips under our shoulders. We're going to lift our chin up, and then lift our chest up, and then lift our hands up for baby cobra. And then bringing our hands back down to the mat, with our elbows tucked to the side, we push down and gently come up into cobra. And then push down more, coming to tabletop, and then coming to child's pose. Bringing your hips down to your ankles, third eye down to the mat. And then coming back up to tabletop, we'll tuck our toes under, raise our hips up to the sky, coming into downward dog. And again, the Drishti here can be your feet, or if you feel the stretch you're able to do, you can look at your navel. And then we'll slowly walk our feet up to our hands, coming into a forward fold. Again, I really think the knee should be a Drishti, but whatever. And then sweep our hands all the way up, overhead, palms come together. You can raise your eyes up to your thumb if you like. And then palms come to heart center. And we'll do tree pose on the other side. So again, your favorite, either toe and ankle, or sole of the foot to the shin, or sole of the foot up to the thigh. or do all three. Finding that Drishti to help you steady your mind and have your mind steady your body. Remember when I took yoga training, teacher training, it was said that the balance and tree pose is all in your mind. I'm like, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. So release that pose. Let's see. Oh, sorry. We release keeping the knee up. Sorry, I got distracted. And then we're going to send that foot back in back of us, having it land way in back of us, coming into a lunge position so that the back foot's pivoted on the mat. We're in a lunge position. Then we'll come into warrior two. So we're going to bring our chest so it's facing the long side of the mat. Sweep our arms up to shoulder height. Send our gaze to our right fingertips. I love this pose. Don't know why, but I do. And then we'll do that peaceful warrior dance. So we're going to watch our right fingertips the whole time. We're going to raise them up, straighten out our front leg, sending the left fingertips down, come up into reverse warrior or peaceful warrior. And then send our right fingertips back down, returning to the lunge, returning to warrior two. And we'll do that 2 more times. You do that at your ease. And then come back down into the lunge, into warrior two. And one last time, lifting the fingertips up, straightening the front leg, and then returning to the lunge, returning to warrior two. Then we'll bring the right arm down to the right thigh, sending our left fingertips up to the sky, sending our gaze up to those left fingertips. And then bringing our left hand down to the mat, returning to warrior, to runner's lunge rather. And then we're going to bring our left foot, have it join our right foot. Come into warrior, forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead, palms come together. Send your gaze on up to your thumbs. And then send your palms to your heart center, focusing on your fingertips. And then we'll bring our feet out to the corners of or edges of the mat, pinky toes on the edge. Heels are tucked in about 45-degree angle. And we'll lower our hips down toward the mat. And you can keep your focus on your fingertips as you do. Just kind of concentrate on lowering your hips down toward the mat. Torso comes between your legs. The backs of your elbows are on the inner parts of your knee. And you can send your fingertips further down toward the mat for a little bit more stretch. And then we'll bring our sit bones down to the mat. And we're going to roll down on our back, so you can do that whatever way works for you. Knees bent and lower, knees straight out, lower, tucking your fingers underneath and doing an express roll back. I'm going to choose the knees up method today. And then bringing your knees to your chest, giving your knees a little bit of a hug, and rocking your lower back against the mat. Give that a nice massage. And then bringing your hands down your legs to the point of your feet and lifting the soles of your feet up to the sky. Your Drishti, or your feet here. Coming into happy baby. We'll just, if you'd like to rock a little bit here to massage your spine, your lower back. You're trying to keep your tailbone down toward the mat with happy baby. And then we'll lower our feet down to the mat, placing them on the mat. Send our arms out at shoulder height. We'll do a few somatic windshield wipers. So our feet are about hip width apart. We're going to lower our knees to the right as we turn our head to our left fingertips. Our left hand is palms facing up toward the sky, and the right hand, the palm is facing down toward the mat or toward the floor. And then we'll inhale, sweeping our head in 180 degrees all the way over to the other side as our knees are raising up and then dropping over to the other side. A nice fluid movement. So our eyes are now on our right hand, palms facing up to the sky. Left hand, the palms facing down toward the ground. And then we'll sweep our knees again to the other side as we sweep our head over to the opposite side. So we're now looking at our left fingertips, palms facing up, right palms facing down. And just kind of do this nice gentle movement, sweeping your knees and your head from side to side. Sending your gaze outward as it's rotating. So you can see how doing these poses and having these focal points really focuses your mind. You're not, well, maybe you are, but I don't know if there's a lot of room there of going over your to-do list as you're doing this. All the extra thoughts that we are so used to having, monkey mind. And the Dharana limb of yoga, the sixth limb, will prepare us for the next limb, which is the meditation limb. We'll work on that next week. Okay. And then one last thing, we're gonna come into reclined mountain. So we're gonna send our legs and feet down to the end of the mat, not to Shavasana quite yet, but to reclined mountain. So we're still, our body's still active, our toes are pointing up to the sky. And I'd like you to really concentrate on connecting each part of your body to the mat that can be. So the heels, really focus on having your heels connecting and maybe pushing down into the mat. And then trying it with your calves, then your hips. Bringing your arms out to your side, really connecting your fingertips to the mat or the floor, wrists, your arms as much as they can reach the floor, shoulders, your shoulder blades really connecting to the mat, pushing down into that. So you're kind of really feeling the effort of the concentration of connecting the two together. The back of your head, maybe your spine, bringing that down, trying to bring the back of your neck down. And then once you've reached the top of your head and you think you've connected everything, just release and relax. Just let everything go. And now you can prepare for Shavasana. And I have a poem for you today. One of my favorites for this time of year by Robert Frost, and it's titled Two Tramps in Mud Time. And it's a long poem, so I'm just going to read a few of the stanzas. The sun was warm, but the wind was chill. You know how it is with an April day. When the sun is out and the wind is still, you're 1 month in the middle of May. But if you so much as dare to speak, a cloud comes over the sunlit arch, a wind comes off a frozen peak, and you're 2 months back in the middle of March. A bluebird comes tenderly up to a light and turns to the wind to unruffle a plume. His song so pitched as not to excite a single flower as yet to bloom. It is snowing a flake, and he half knew winter was only playing possum. Except in color, he wasn't blue, but he wouldn't advise a thing to blossom. The water for which we have to look in summertime with a witching wand, in every wheel rut's now a brook, in every print of a hoof a pond. Be glad of water, but don't forget the lurking frost in the earth beneath that will steal forth after the sun is set and show on the water its crystal teeth.